much. So I'm going to echo everything that we find, and it's going to get really interesting because I want to make sure you saw.
We're putting in work, and so they want to get a chance to take home this ring right here. So we want to, if you want to still get involved, we have just a few spaces left on some teams. So if you want to do something better and amazing for our city, if you want to put your energy to good use, come off the bench and join the game. You can reach out to me, or you can reach out to the team captains directly. But we will make sure that you're on the team, and we are doing something great in the city. And again, we're playing for the championship belt, and every single person on the team will receive the championship ring. So once again, go Flint, and we're definitely Flint strong.
Awesome. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak during council response?
Madam Chair,
Councilwoman Priestley, you have the floor.
I want to thank everyone who came out to the Fourth Ward and worked on the cleanup this past weekend. We filled 6 dumpsters full of garbage and trash, and I want to thank specific partners who helped support financially: Kim Salon, Big Guns Tattoos, Genesee Landlords Association, Grandma's Recipe, Vern's Collision and Glass, Hoggett Property Management, Maud's Alabama Barbecue, Keep Genesee Beautiful, and Nellie's Mac Shack.
Do you have Quorum
Also,
now?
our blight
You have
department
Quorum? Okay.
provided the claw as well as a dump truck and drove around the city on Sunday. And I thought that was wonderful, and I appreciate their help. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak during council response?
Madam Chair,
Councilman Alamine, you have the floor.
I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to the residents of the First Ward for your continuous support. Together, we have achieved significant progress in our ward. I would like to take a moment to highlight a few of them. From enhancing infrastructure by providing direct services to residents, by working with the City of Flint administration, we have been able to help many residents get their sidewalks repaired, trees trimmed and removed, and many residents have gotten their roofs replaced. This is an ongoing process. We are scheduled to have at least 9 more coming up soon in regards to getting their roofs and things repaired. I also want to thank my team for putting together our annual Green Workforce Job Training Program, in which we have residents from the First Ward and across the city participating, in which they'll get 6 different certifications that's state recognized after they complete this 8-week training program, and then they'll have opportunities to get hired into the industry of green technology and some of these new jobs coming down the pipeline, and that is going very well. Also, I want to thank the executive director at the May Senior and Community Center, as well as the City of Flint, as well as Legal Services of Eastern Michigan for
Please
the
hold.
expungement.
Please pause this time.
Madam Chair,
What's
could you
your
please
point?
bring the audience to order?
Absolutely. I would ask that the audience members would please refrain from making noise while the speaker is speaking. If you would like to step into the hallway to continue your conversation, please feel free. Go ahead, Mr. Alamine.
I also want to give a big shout out to everyone who came out and
Ariel,
supported our
stop yelling out.
expungement, as well as our child support clinic last Friday. We was able to help over 50 individuals get their record expunged and caught up on their child support, and so that they can move forward with their lives without worrying about being arrested. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll put the meeting at ease until we can reestablish quorum.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman.
Thank you. I would like to compel our colleague Dennis Pfeiffer, who's standing in the door. I believe that's Tanya Burns, also in the foyer, if they can come in so we can proceed with the city's business.
Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. We still have 5 people because Jonathan Jarrett is actually still in the chamber. I'm looking at him, so we can proceed with our meeting.
Oh, thank
I'm going to continue and go ahead with my council response. So I do want to commend you all for what you have going on in your wards. Congratulations to you on the Litter League. I heard amazing things about it. People still showed up to clean up in the rain. We're tackling blight on one of the ends of the city that it is much needed. So congratulations on a successful inaugural effort, and I know that it'll continue. Nice ring. Congratulations to Councilwoman Priestley and the Fourth Ward cleanup. I know it was put together by a Fourth Ward resident, and she put a lot of time and effort into making sure that it could happen. And so just congratulations on the 4 bins. I know it's just the beginning, but at least you all have started, and it's much needed in the Fourth Ward. Congratulations, Councilman Alamine. You have countless things happening in the First Ward all at once right now, from the expungement that's going on to you have a lot of roof replacements that's going on, and you continue to tackle blight. So thank you so much. I do want to thank all of the residents who showed up in the 7th Ward, because now is the perfect time to start planting trees. And we know that trees, they are great filters for our lungs. They're great shade in the summertime to keep us from becoming a concrete jungle. They also help with floodplains to keep people's homes safe from flooding and them having those insurance costs. So thank you to everyone that showed up in the 7th Ward and planted trees over the weekend. That ends council response. I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda. Councilwoman in the 4th Ward.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
It's been moved and, oh, well, we can't vote on it. Mr. Jarrett is in the chambers. He's just in the back sitting with the administration, but he is here in the chambers. So we can move this consent agenda as soon as he comes back to his seat. Mr. Pfeiffer is also standing right there at the door. So as soon as they rejoin the meeting, we will be able to move our consent agenda. But Mr. Jarrett is in the chambers.
Madam Chair? Yes. Yeah, and I also just want to acknowledge I didn't do so when it was my time. We have 3 heroes in the building. We have 3 heroes in the building. Yes, we have Mr. Christopher Smith, Ms. LaAngel Hunter, and Mr. Jalen Washington, who are responsible for saving the lives of Flint residents. They are here. They are here. Yeah, so can you all stand up, please? Right. Yeah. So as soon as quorum is established.
Well, we have quorum.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, as soon as our colleague come from back there, we can move you, or hopefully move you all toward the front so we can present you with your acknowledgments.
Can somebody please define what at ease is? Not at ease, I'm in confusion. Transparent. Can I get 3 more minutes since we at ease? Another thing that I was concerned about is how
Sir,
Pastor Martin, we're at ease. I don't know what that means.
excuse me,
Pastor Martin has
sir.
a water
Sir.
bill. Yeah.
Sir, that's not what we do.
So now they're videoing you when you scored it out. Get out of here, Jedediah. We don't want you here.
All right, the time is now 5:12, and I would like to just compel my colleagues to please take their elected seats, because we have visitors here, so we want to be respectful of their time, so we can move on with the meeting, please. Right. Councilwoman Burns, we're compelling you to come to your seat so we can formally acknowledge the heroes. Councilwoman Burns. Councilwoman Burns.
The council will allow the clerk to take this time to establish a quorum. Madam Clerk, would you please, they're all actually in the building. I think they're in the council office. So if you could ask them if they plan to come to this meeting, that would be lovely. Mr. Jones, please stop yelling out. That doesn't look good.
I took this picture and I sent it to, these are my friend's puppies.
They're so cute. How old are they?
4 weeks old, five.
Now, how old are puppies when they stop nursing?
Well, she's still nursing them a little bit. It depends on the mom. It depends on the breeder. I let my first litter, I let them nurse until they were, until they So my first litter, I let her nurse until she was done. And at 8 weeks, she said, looked at me and she goes, Mama, I'm done. I said, okay.
That sounds cute.
So, Dr. Lewis,
I got sharp teeth, Mom.
we have the Heroes presentation, and then we also have the brownfield presentation.
Yeah?
We can do the hero presentation, can't we? If we've got 5 in the chambers, we don't have 5 in the
I
chambers.
just want to point out that,
Correct. And
I wish
hold on.
you'd waited though.
So they were.
Madam Chair,
yes, Madam Clerk. Yes, Madam Clerk.
the council members would not be returning for this meeting.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, did you talk to the councilwoman in the 5th Ward, Ms. Jerry Winfrey Carter, who is in the building? Will she be returning to this meeting?
No.
Did you talk to the 6th Ward Councilwoman, Deltanya Burns, who is in the building? Will she be returning to this meeting?
No.
Did you talk to the 8th Ward Councilperson, Dennis Pfeiffer, who is in this building? Will he be returning to the meeting?
No.
Did you talk to the 9th Ward Councilperson, Jonathan Jarrett, who is in this building? Will he be returning to the meeting?
No.
So, council people in the 5th, 6th, 8th, and 9th Ward have all refused to return to the council meeting even though they are in the building.
Yes, they won't be returning to this meeting.
And are they experiencing some sort of medical emergency to your knowledge? Excuse me, officer, I am trying to conduct business and Gladys Williamson is screaming out. That is your second warning. That is your second warning. I don't need a quorum. That is your second warning. Please remove her from my meeting.
No, you don't put your hands on me. Don't put your hands on me. They don't have the right. They don't have the no, listen. They don't have the right to put me out.
All of those people are guilty of obstruction. Dennis just went down the elevator. Oh, he's outside with his bullhorn.
scumbags. There's a riot. Skank.
Not Ladero, dang.
We channeled it at the state capitol when studied. We said, this is what democracy looks like. And just
Perfect. Moving on to the consent agenda, what is the pleasure of the body?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
The pleasure body is to call a point of order. Gladys is back in this meeting, and she received two
Oh.
warnings. She should be out of this meeting.
Correct. This is not the second meeting. Please exit.
That's the reason why she came back. Come on, Gladys. They said it ain't the next meeting yet. Come on back out. We misinformed you.
Oh, I think he's leaving again.
Councilperson Jarrett? Yes. We're compelling you, please stay so we can finish our special affairs meeting. We know that you're a man of God and you say that you follow God. And so we're asking if you would do the right thing.
Beverly Biggs Levy, that is your first warning. Please stop yelling out.
We're asking if you would do the right thing and please stay for the meeting so we can acknowledge community heroes, so we can have our hearing. Councilman Jarrett?
Rich Jones, please stop yelling out. I guess we'll wait for Councilman Pfeiffer to come back in. I think he's waiting for the next meeting. However, there are agenda items on this meeting that we really need to get to. And so I guess since Councilman Pfeiffer is still in the building, we'll just wait for them to join this meeting.
Got to be the dumbest rocks in the box. I want to thank on behalf of the people of Flint, because when I get that money, I'm going to definitely shower all the love on the residents. But I want y'all to know that is probably the dumbest thing that a police chief could have ever did. So you mean to tell me, Chief Green, you don't know how to deal with crime in your community? You don't know how to deal with gang violence in your community? You don't know how to make sure that there's enough coverage in your community? You don't know how to fix the response time in your community? And you sure as hell don't know how to attract some of the best law enforcement talent that there is in your community. But you also are so dumb that you would literally go against your oath to uphold the law and the Constitution, that you are going to kick me out of the people's building. Y'all got to be the dumbest. of the dumbest. You got to be the dumbest of the dumbest. Oh, wait a minute. Did Pastor Christopher Martin call down to Mayor Neely and tell him that he was mad because the community is starting to figure out what he's done and what he is on and who he is? Oh, wait a minute. That can't be what it is. Are you mad because, wait a minute, we've been getting the rules of how this town governs and we've been learning it and people have been getting over their beefs and actually coming together? No, that ain't what it is. It can't be that. It can't be the fact that we've been extracting how much money you all have shifted and grifted from these residents to your political cronies and friends. Oh, wait a minute, it can't be that. It must be because you created a whole role in your government that doesn't exist so that you can reject the notion of what the people of the Third Ward already said they wanted, which was Beverly Biggs. It can't be that. How you doing? All right, now go ahead with that Tyra Banks walk. It can't be that, Mr. Neely. Is it because you're sitting in your office electioneering? What is it, sir, that got you so upset that you would send the chief of police, not even an underling, you would send the chief of police, one-leg wonder, to come and put me out and put his hands on me? You really thought that the police was that untouchable? Why? Why would you think that the police was that untouchable that a man in uniform could literally abuse a citizen of these United States of America and nothing is gonna happen? It's because you've been doing that for so long? Oh my God, this is absolutely fascinating, ladies and gentlemen. What we got going on right here, and I don't know what it is up with Flint, but I ain't getting no good hospitality. I done been kicked out of 4 places by now. I ain't never been kicked out this much.
Sorry.
Man, I've been kicked out of a restaurant. I got kicked out of a church. I just got kicked out of City Hall. I got kicked out of somebody's house. Golly. What in the world is going on?
Really going on.
They don't want, boy.
Kicked out of a church.
I got kicked out of a church. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's really crazy.
Just for having a bullhorn. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's sad.
And then they're gonna say that the best thing that they can. Oh, oh shoot! I got kicked out of 5 places. I got kicked out of Out Front Media too, where I was a client.
Oh, and
I
was with you.
got my money taken and still got kicked out. It's
We got
crazy.
kicked out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's been bamboozled, hoodwinked, and led astray. Let me help you out. So what Liddell has been peddling is that the council people who have been standing against this corrupt administration, she's been peddling that they are not handling the people's business. Well, now you see what the people's business is. How you doing? Basically, the people's business to them is doing everything that the mayor tells them to do, as long as they're getting political favors, trinkets, and they're getting the ability to skirt the rules and the law for their own enrichment and themselves. I submit to you today that that lady that's an ambassador for this third ward could not be the best candidate whatsoever, because if she's going to jump in line with this administration, with everything that they got going on, there ain't no way in hell, heaven, or on earth that she is for the people. And I'm going to be clear about this. The moment that she decides to be the ambassador, not even in the office for a month, her house is already getting remodeled. The siding of the house is getting remodeled. Now, that's crazy. So what they doing now?
Can I get a Miss LaAngela Hunter to come to the front? Mr. Christopher Smith and Mr. Jalen Washington, please come to the front.
Madam Chair,
Councilwoman Priestley.
through you to the city attorney. Can we still have the presentation by Ashley Capital as a special order, or does this need to have business?
I believe that is classified as city business.
Does it's on here?
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I'm not gonna agree to. The time is now 6:03 p.m. on Monday, April 28th. I call the Special Affairs Committee meeting to a close. It is now adjourned due to lack of quorum by the 5th, 6th, 8th, and 9th council ward members.
It is 6:05 p.m. And in accordance with Section 3-201B of the Flint City Charter, I am calling this council meeting to order. And we'll start with the roll call. Mr. Alamine?
Present.
Ms. Lewis?
Present.
Ms. Priestley?
Present.
Ms. Burns?
Present.
Sorry, Ms. Winfrey Carter is not in. Ms. Mashat? Mr. Pfeiffer is not in. Mr. Jarrett is not in. You have 5 members present. And also in accordance with Section 3-201, I'm calling this meeting to order for the purpose of electing a city council president.
Madam Clerk,
Ms. Priestley?
make a motion to move the election of a new council president and vice president, et cetera, to the end of the agenda.
Ms. Priestley has made a motion
Support.
to move the organization of the council to the end of the agenda, and that motion was supported by Mr. Alamine. So we'll have a roll call on that motion. Mr. Alamine? Dr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Priestley?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter is not in. Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Mashat? Yes. Mr. Pfeiffer is not in. Mr. Jarrett is not in. The vote is 5 yes, 0 no. So the organization of City Council will be moved to the end of the agenda, and we will move on with the opening ceremonies.
All right, now it's time for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Priestley, thank you so much. All right, thank you. So now it's time for the prayer blessing. Do we have anyone that would like to acknowledge someone that may have transitioned? All right. Seeing that we have no one, I would like to just remember the bereaved families in the city of Flint, as well as the family of the latest youth victim over there on the west side. We got another young person that was murdered. All right, so we will go ahead and proceed with our blessing. So Councilwoman Burns, would you please lead us in the blessing?
Councilwoman Lewis, I will not ask God to bless this mess. No, thank you.
All right, so since you will not lead us in the blessing, Councilwoman Mashat, would you please lead us in the blessing?
If all minds are clear, Heavenly Father God, we come to you in Jesus' name, just first and foremost, thank you for allowing us to live to see another day. Thank you for your grace, your mercy, your love, and your favor. We thank you now for safe travels as we all go to our respective dwellings, Lord God. We thank you for keeping us as we travel to this meeting. We ask now that we would be able to handle city business, do things to uplift and edify your kingdom, Lord God. We ask that we could all be on one accord and get things done. It is in the mighty name of Jesus that we thank you, and we know that your name is mighty, and we pray, amen.
Amen. All right, so now it's time for the reading of the Disorderly Person City Code subsection, which goes as follows. Any person that persists in disrupting this meeting will be in violation of Flint City Code Section 3110, disorderly conduct, assault and battery, and disorderly persons, and will be subject to arrest for misdemeanor. Any person who prevents the peaceful and orderly conduct of any meeting will be given one warning. If they persist in disrupting this meeting, that individual will be subject to arrest. Violators will be removed from meetings. Now, we are at request for agenda changes.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I see that we do have Ashley Capital here, and we are having a public hearing happening. They were supposed to give a 15-minute presentation during community affairs, which was to go ahead of the public hearing. I'm asking that that 15-minute presentation go before the public hearing on this agenda.
Okay, so you want the presentation to go before public hearing?
Yes.
All right, so I will order that without objection. As well as the chair will entertain a motion for the rest of the items from special affairs to be transferred over.
So moved.
Support.
All right, been moved, supported. So,
Madam Chair,
go ahead.
so are you're adding Ashley Capital in with, or are you doing this separately? With moving the items that did not make it over to be considered, which would be St. Mark's Church.
That wasn't on special affairs.
Right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna move everything from special affairs
Okay,
over to the council meeting.
Okay, let me finish, please. So in special affairs, I believe Youth Arts Unlocked is on there, is that correct?
No.
That
That's
wasn't on
not it.
special affairs either.
Where's my agenda? Oh, so we have, are you putting all this together, which would be the reallocation of ARPA funds with youth job training, City of Flint Second Clean and Safe Summer Program? Are we putting that on there?
So we're moving everything from special affairs
That would
to
have required a
council.
yes. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
All right. And we will place those items.
Madam Chair.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to note that the presentation was done.
Yes.
And so
Without
they
objection?
had to leave, and so we can't move that over because they are no longer here to receive their,
I say it
the
again.
presentation for the heroes.
Mm-hmm.
They are gone, and so we are not able to do that presentation.
Well, we can, because we still have some footage and we still
Okay,
have.
thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam
Yeah.
Chair,
Yes.
I object.
You object to what?
I object to moving the items over from special affairs over to the council agenda.
Okay, that's fine. So we would just take a roll call vote for moving,
So, Madam Chair, the only thing left to
Separate.
move would be the youth jobs is the only thing left to move.
yes. Okay. All righty. So hold on, I just want to be clear. So, Ms. Burns, so you object to honoring the heroes in the city? Is that what you're objecting to as well, as youth jobs?
Madam Chair, those are the only two items to be moved over, the youth jobs and the honoring of the heroes.
I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry, I said, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
You gotta acknowledge me. I said those are the only two things left to be moved over from special affairs, are the youth jobs and the honoring of the heroes.
Yes. And she said that she objects. I'm just trying to be clear on what she's objecting. Is she objecting one, which is the youth jobs, or is she objecting both, the youth jobs as well as the honoring of our heroes?
Madam Chair, didn't you say that there's no one here for the heroes, that they have left?
They have left.
Okay, well then, we don't need to move it over then.
So you object for that as well?
How many times I gotta tell you?
Maybe again.
No,
So,
I'm done. You
so,
got I object. You figure it out. That means to whatever.
Madam Chair,
go ahead.
I can't speak for her, but deductive reasoning would state if she is saying there are no heroes for her to honor, so she can't be objecting to that. I think she's objecting to the youth jobs.
Understood. I just wanted to make it clear for the record. All right, so we will have a roll call vote to move the reallocation of ARPA funds for the youth jobs. And that is Resolution 250140, reallocation of ARPA funds for youth job training, City of Flint's second Clean the Summer program. So we would have the roll call vote to move that from the special affairs to the council agenda. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Dr. Lewis,
Yes.
Ms. Priestley,
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter is not in. Ms. Burns,
No.
Ms. Mashat?
Yes.
Mr. Pfeiffer is not in. Mr. Jarrett is not in. Mr. Alamine?
Yes.
The vote is 4 yes, 1 no.
The vote is 4 yes, 1 no. So that item, which is the reallocation of ARPA funds for youth job training for the City of Flint Second Clean and Safe Summer Program, which is the job program for youth, that has been left in special affairs for the lack of votes. So now we will move on to the presentation. So we have the presentation, Mr. Quimby from Ashley Capital.
We have to vote on that, don't we? Oh, okay. That was ordered without objection. Okay. Go ahead.
Do you have the dongle? Davina the dongle so I can plug in? Can everyone see that?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, I'm Mark Quimby with Ashley Capital. I've been working and responsible for this project. What we're talking about today is the Brownfield Plan Amendment Number 1. The Brownfield Plan was approved in 2023, and this amendment is pretty straightforward, and I'll try to be respectful of everybody's time. So really quickly, I'm just going to summarize the 2023 Brownfield Plan and then what this amendment is about. So if you recall, in 2023, when the Brownfield Plan was approved, $72.5 million was the total tax capture for eligible activities. That included $17 million in grants that were awarded to the project. The Brownfield captured 80% of the new taxes and 20% went to the local jurisdictions. And the reimbursement was a 25-year reimbursement with that capture. That's the gist of it. This diagram basically explains what's going on with this plan. So essentially, we added in additional parcels, which is why we required this amendment. How do I? There you go. So as you can see, we added in the Oak Park parcel, which we purchased last year. We added in a parcel that we bought that surrounds the Buick City Event Center, and then we also added a small parcel that is on the far left-hand side of the screen that is south of the spiral weld, north of Stewart. When we added these new land, we added the investment for our second building, which was the nanograph project, which added in $4.8 million of new activities, but we also took a credit on the brownfield for $5.9 million, which was the value of an additional grant that we were able to get for relocating a sewer that was in the plan. So on a net basis, that reduced the brownfield plan for $1.1 million. So the capture went from 72.5 to 71.4. Everything else is essentially the same, except the reimbursement is faster because there's more investment in it. So this amendment is basically, it's more for less. That's the bottom line. What this diagram is this is just kind of showing what the tax capture looks like with these new projections. The red is the taxes that are generated from the property currently. The orange is the taxes being generated by Building 1, which are not in the plan, but we're just showing that that investment happened and is not part of this plan. The green is the captured new taxes, or the new taxes that are going directly to the city and the other jurisdictions, and the TIF capture is in gray, which is showing the reimbursement. The main difference I wanted to do was this is the plan that was approved in 2023. So you can see the capture goes all the way to 2025, and then now this new plan, you can see the capture got pulled ahead by 4 years because of the additional investment. So essentially, this plan is it's less reimbursement, faster reimbursement with more investment, and hopefully we can get your support on this, which allows us to move to the next part. And I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
your last statement, can you repeat that again?
It's We're reducing the capture, so it's less money, but more investment, and the city gets their full tax benefits faster.
Madam Chair.
Please hold, Miss Machette. You good? Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead, Ms. Burns.
Thank you. So, Mark, can you break it down into terms? You showed two graphs so that the residents can understand. So we're looking at the graph, and it almost would have been best to have one on one side and the other on the other one. So it looked like before at year 20, it's kind of far, is it 27, that we would have been basically a full capture.
Yeah, year 26.
26, okay, well, I was
You were
close.
you were very close.
Close.
Yeah.
And so with this one, okay, year 26 to change, but with the changes, it's now what year?
Functionally, it's 21.
21.
There's a little bit in 21, but it's not very much.
Okay, okay. And so this will make a difference because when you say tax capture, most people don't understand.
Sure.
Because this is language you talk every day. Can
Yeah.
you break it down why this is important so that everyone can understand it?
Sure.
Thank you.
So the way a brownfield plan works, right, is that the problem is ultimately what you want is a project that will sustain market rates, right, market rent. And the issue is the cost to redevelop Buick City are so exorbitant because of all the demolition that's required from the buildings and the contamination that we'd never be able to get there without some kind of, public-private partnership, which this tax structure Michigan is set up as really a desire to see these kind of properties redeveloped. So what the plan does is, in what the law allows, is a developer can capture up to 100% of the new taxes. So it freezes the taxes as they are now, you spend a whole bunch of money to make the property work, and then you can capture 100% of the new taxes. When we structured the first plan, it was really important to us that Flint got immediate benefit. So the plan was structured as an 80-20, so that means that 80% goes to reimburse all of these extraordinary costs, but 20% of any new taxes just goes through and everybody gets it. So the county gets their piece, the city gets their piece, the state gets their piece. Now what happens is when the plan is fully paid off, then it just goes like there's no tax capture, and so the city gets all of the taxes. So under the old plan, the city got 20% of all new taxes through year 25 or 26. The new plan is they get 20% through year 21, but then after that they get everything.
Okay, and so a lot of people don't understand. So the contamination of the site, I've had this conversation with you, and I've had it even with people who worked at Buick and asked you, when you were even at my dad's house, how will you ever get all the contamination out?
No. So the idea is that for a site like this with the levels of impact that you have, what you're really focused on is control. So the idea is you don't want any contamination getting in sewers, you don't want any contamination migrating off the property. So what we have to do is we have to deal with all the demolition and deal with all the contamination in a way that contains it on site and then caps it with the development itself. So all the pavements and the buildings, that all acts as the cap to contain everything and keep it safe.
So one of the things you talked about, because they're doing work, and you had to change out certain, was it the sewers?
Yep.
And what's the difference in the sewers? Because a lot of people, when we look at construction, General Motors was it 19, oh gosh, when they start, oh God, I can't remember because it started at the carriage factory. So you're putting in new sewage drainage, and what's the difference? What are you pulling out and what are you putting in?
Right. So the issue is the sewers that there's a huge public sewer that runs right through the Buick City site. It's made out of clay bricks. Okay. The clay.
How long has that been there?
Over 100 years. So it's over 100 years old. There's contamination in the groundwater. Contamination can get into that sewer and then go to the Flint River. So what we're doing is we're demolishing that sewer and we're building a new sewer that is built out of chemically resistant materials with sealed watertight gaskets, and we're basically building in a whole new sewer line that then it's slightly moved to the north, but then it reconnects to the system. So what that does is none of the contamination in the groundwater can get into the sewer system.
How long is the new system that you're repairing? Because that site runs for, is it 7 miles or
Yeah.
What's the distance that you're replacing?
I'd have to measure it, but it's probably about a mile or close to that, because
Okay.
it runs from east to west, so it's running basically from the railroad tracks to industrial.
Okay. I yield the floor.
All right, anyone else have any questions for Mr. Quimbley from Ashley Capital? Any more questions? Well, seeing none, I believe that is all.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and this concludes our special presentation for Ashley Capital. So now it is time for our public hearing regarding this presentation, Amendment Number 1, the Flint Commerce City Brownfield Plan. And we will wait for the clerk to give me the sign that they're ready to proceed. And just, Mr. Jones, no, but I shouldn't hear you up here though. And so what we need to have happen, we need for the residents to understand that your comments need to be specific to this public hearing. And we're talking specifically about the brownfield plan. If you're not talking about the brownfield plan, I'm gonna stop you and give you an opportunity to get on track. Otherwise, your time will be removed and we will have to go on to the next speaker. So I just want to make sure that we have clarity regarding that. All right, so are you ready, Madam Clerk? Okay, thank you. All right, so now it's time for the public hearing. Resolution 240546.6, and per tradition, I usually go to the attorney and ask the attorney, is there anything that you want to share about this specific public hearing before we begin?
No, other than this is the 10th day that we wanted to make sure that this public hearing goes forward, or it would have to be renoticed, and another 10 days would have to end before it would come back again.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so without further ado, we will go ahead and move forward with the public hearing. First public speaker, please.
This is where you would just step up to the microphone.
Hello, Council. I'm Mario Mitchell, and I'm gonna speak on the brownfield situation over about the railroad track. This tunnel, they said it was 7 miles, but he just said it's only a mile through the industrial, and like McCullen Street, and like that church, McCullen ran all the way back up, where we supposed to get that woman, the church, $50,000, all up way up there too. That's just like the brownfield, because right on McCullen and Saginaw is 2 motorcycle clubs. That's a brownfield too. Name of Zodiac and the Sons of Thunder and the Eagles. And we supposed to be down there, I think tomorrow, every kid in Flint, when they talk about basketball and someone you rent a ring, supposed to be there for Ward 1 can cut them ribbons, and the 3rd Ward, you see he gone and everybody else gone, but we got to represent the 3rd Ward. You get the presidency, and that's the main brownfield. The whole city become a brownfield. And national capital trying to capitalize on this stuff by building on disturbed land, and we darkies ain't getting away with nothing, just like Miss Mohammed over there grabbed this dude with the bullhorn, and you better be glad Mohammed didn't see that stuff. He gonna think it's one of his boys. He don't play that stuff any means possible. The chief of police grabbing like Ed Teller, putting his hand on the public, and all that stuff, and Miss Mohammed all in the way. You might think that's one of his boys getting treated. And Mohammed don't play that stuff. You stay tuned, America. See what we darkies dealing with in Flint. All this people trying to take away the black people's land and kick them to the curb. All right, let's let somebody else talk.
All right, next speaker.
Thank you for letting them slide. Thank you for being here, Ms. Burns. I got a few questions. The number one question I have is, where are they at currently on the process of cleaning that work site up? How long is it going to take before there's actually a building on the premises? What kind of building is going to be on there? In other words, what kind of jobs? And the reason why I say that is because we need to be preparing our residents in the city of Flint for those jobs. So we need to stay ahead of the game, man. I hear the word taxes. The taxes is what being paid from the citizens of Flint. And the gray part, it comes back to the Ashley, and the green part is what comes back to the city of Flint. I was wondering in the future, starting today, far as those neighborhood agreements that we be talking about, can we get some of those neighborhood agreements to cut down some of that $72 million that the residents have to pay over the next 30 years? And I am not against this project at all. We need the jobs. We need it. But we need to be spoken to the right way, because this was brung to the residents of Flint as a 3,000 job conversation. It wasn't no spend $72 million, clean up a work site, build a building, then 3,000 jobs. So that wool have already been pulled over our eyes. Please don't pull any more wool over our eyes as far as this project is going. Please let us know, where are you at when it comes to cleaning up the work site? How long it's going to take you to build a building there, and what kind of business are you going to be building there? And are you preparing as residents of the city of Flint to take those jobs? And also look for neighborhood agreements to help pay for some. And also, I got 33 seconds left, so I can say this. Also, look for some neighborhood agreements to pay the KWA bond that we pay for also. Thank you.
All right, next speaker for the public hearing. All right, seeing there's no one, this public, go ahead. Go ahead. Ma'am, please approach the lectern.
As far as that contaminated land goes, I worked at Buick. I worked on the engine floor. And that contaminated land he's talking about, that is where all the machine coolant chemicals ran. That's what he's talking about. And that's going to take a whole lot more money than what he's talking about, because that cement cooling thing process ran the full length from the engine plant all the way up to Buick City. And I know, because I worked there. And I worked on the machine floor. And I was a machine setup. So, and my husband was on 72 department, and they, at changeover, cleaned those traps. So what he's saying is a lie. Gonna take a whole lot more money than that to clean that up. That's why it ain't been dealt with. Because it's gonna take a whole lot more money than that. And so and second, I don't see where they've showed me where all them chemicals from that plant that they're gonna put there, I don't see where that's gonna end up anywhere else but the Flint River. Just like DuPont's chemicals ended up in the Flint River. And DuPont was never held responsible for their contamination to our Flint River. And what makes the people of Flint think that this project's going to be any different than the pollution that we're already dealing with? Hello, cancers, mental illness, you name it. And Flint citizens have it because of these great projects that they want to bring to Flint. And second of all, they don't have the right fire equipment to handle a fire that would happen due to this plant and the chemicals and the products that they're going to be building. No, they don't. So I just want to let you know, don't be fooled, because you ain't fooling me, and as long as I've got lungs and speak, you ain't fooling these people either.
All right. Anyone else like to speak in this public hearing?
Yes. I need
Go
to say
ahead.
my name.
Please do.
Yes, Audrey Young Muhammad, 2nd Ward. Dittoing off of what they've all said. Where do you start? Don't worry, the DuPont's gonna be, they just set themselves for doom because they have poisoned the city of Flint. Not only just the city of Flint, many other places. You can talk to some of the former employees of GM, and they talked about how they went and dumped the lead paint in the water. So I've had some patients of mine who told me about some of that stuff, and they just messed up because when the water became contaminated. But just talking about that field down there, that part of the land where you're talking about cleaning up, it's already contaminated way outside of that. My daughter did the soil sampling and some of the things that she had done in conjunction with some of the other organizations here. I had the pleasure of working with her one whole summer. Well, we found so many contaminants beyond just the lead, the asbestos, the other stuff in the land that's in the soil, in the people homes, in their land around where that plant is at. The people can't even go out and think about growing good, healthy vegetables in their yard because the land is so contaminated. When she started doing the sampling and she rented the equipment, thank God, because nobody here in the city of Flint would try to sponsor her and her program. She even took it up to the north. She took it to the Flint Development Center. They rejected her, but then they got funding to do some stuff from some other places to run their program there that she's running. And she ended up getting her funding directly from California. So she comes in and she does the soil sampling with the children. Like I said, there's a lot of other things in that land that's all the way around there. It's gonna take a lot more than what you all are talking about to even clean up and make it healthy, even for people to even go through there. People around there, my sister died, and I know some of the things, she lived in that area. Some of the contaminants from that area, when she found out the land was no good, she stopped growing vegetables. She tried to teach healthy gardens. Then we talk about doing gardening initiatives around here, but yet and still talking about doing it in contaminated soil. And then you have people from different governmental agencies that go out there and say, well, it's okay, it ain't no lead in it, but it's asbestos and other stuff and other contaminants in the soil. I'm all for getting us some jobs here. That I am definitely for. But let's find a way and make sure that we at least be transparent and not just feed the people garbage just because we want to say we want to make sure that people buy into our lies, because we're tired of being lied to.
All right, next speaker.
Hi, my name's David Garden. What I'm wondering is, when they said that they're gonna leave the tiles there and they're gonna, I guess, go beside it, and just how much dirt are you gonna pull out of there? You know, if that stuff then seep down, it's way deep. So how far do you go down to get it all out? I know they did some clearing over there by the post office and by the water and everything, and they dug all of that out of there because that was contaminated. So you figure how many years that stuff been down there and how much then moved on down. If my issue is, if you're just gonna put concrete over to bury it, to me, you're just putting a Band-Aid on it. Because once you put that over there and cover that up, it's still gonna move. And it's gonna keep on moving. And in a minute, it's gonna move into the Flint River. It's gonna, so it's just how much dirt can you take out to remove and put in to stop that corrosion? So hopefully, like she said, people, you need jobs around here because the rent on these houses is $1,000 and you need jobs. So you need the jobs in one hand, but you need to take care of that because in that area there, you're gonna still have people gonna wanna have a garden or whatever there in the neighborhood and all that, still contamination. It still is gonna be there, but how low can you get it where it won't hurt the citizens of Flint? Thank you.
All right, are there any more speakers for the public hearing? All right, seeing there's no more speakers for this public hearing.
Madam Chair, a quick question, please.
What is your question?
Because I think in the public hearing, would you allow, I don't think the public understands that Racer Trust did do some of the cleanup. I don't know if it would be in order right after this to allow Mark Quimby with Ashley Capital to speak of the cleanup, because we had hearings for years where Racer, okay.
Do it during the end.
Okay, she just said, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a request on the floor?
She's making a motion to allow Mr. Quimby to come back and address some of the contamination concerns.
Thank you.
But are you making the motion?
She wants to close, yeah, but I think she wants to close out the meeting, the public hearing first.
Okay, just wanted to be clear. Yep. So this public hearing is now over.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Burns.
I'd like to make a motion to have Mark Quimby speak to the contamination
And
with
so,
necessary questions.
so what's the time limit?
Questions by whom? I'll approve.
Y'all both talking at the same time.
She's
Okay.
making a
Yeah.
motion to have Mark Quimby come and answer the questions with necessary questions from council.
Correct.
And
I'll support that. I'll support that.
All right, thank you.
What they said,
All
15,
right,
thank
so, it has been, seconded by the chair lady in the 4th Ward. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Priestley?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter is absent. Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Mashat?
Yes.
Mr. Pfeiffer is absent. Mr. Jarrett is absent. Mr. Alamine? Yes. Dr. Lewis?
Yes.
Vote is 5 yes, 0 no.
The vote is 5 yes, 0 no. That motion passes. So, Mr. Quimby, could you please approach the lectern? Oh, so it appears to be some confusion around the cleaning up of the site. So could you please address that?
Sure. So I think it's worth note what type of contamination is primarily at Buick City and kind of what's going on, right? So Racer Trust took over the property when GM went bankrupt in about 2010. In between 2010 and 2020, they were focused on doing cleanup actions at Buick City. They did do some soil removal, not a lot, but they did do some, and they did a tremendous amount of assessment. So that means taking soil and groundwater samples from the property. What they identified as the primary contamination at Buick City that was causing an immediate concern was the oil that was in the ground was getting into the storm sewers, and that was getting into the Flint River. So what the Racer Trust did is they focused on trying to eliminate that. And that involved a couple different things. Primarily, the main thing they did was because the plants were no longer there, they abandoned and disconnected several storm sewers in areas where there was a lot of oil in the ground. And that stopped the oil from getting into the storm system. And that was determined by, there was physical oil that was observed getting in the river, and it stopped. And then they did have an area where they couldn't abandon the sewer because it was connected to a main line that actually serviced some of the properties, like the residential properties and commercial properties to the west of the property. So in that case, what they did is very similar to what we're doing, is they actually built a brand new sewer out of chemically resistant materials, actually the same materials that we're using, to prevent anything, any water or oil or anything like that getting into that sewer. And they ran a new sewer and then it demolished and abandoned the old one, similar to what we're proposing to do for this other section of the sewer. That's the majority of the cleanup that's been going on. Since about 2018, they've shifted their focus to PFAS because that's become a big problem. And so when we did the transaction in 2022 and 2023, we did not buy two of the pieces of Buick City. The Racer Trust has maintained the piece that's on the east side of the railroad tracks and also that fronts Hamilton on the east side of Industrial. The reason they did that is because they're still doing active cleanup. They are currently working with Eagle to determine what that cleanup is going to look like. And some of it is probably going to be soil removal, some of it is going to be contaminant destruction in place, some of it is probably going to be, capping and entombment. I know that there's also an issue where there's PFAS that's migrating from the property that is leaving the property on the south border, getting into the street in Hamilton. That is then getting into the sanitary sewer. The city of Flint is dealing with Eagle on this issue as well, and what's happening is Racer is gearing up this summer to basically do a similar thing where they're going to abandon some sewer lines in Hamilton Road that run just south of the property. And they're going to build some new sewers and reconnect it, and they're going to basically alter some of the sewer structure, abandon some, build a few new lines, and that is specifically to stop the contaminated groundwater from getting into the sewer. Now, some people brought up some issues about contamination off the property, like in the residential properties to the west. I can tell you we don't own that land, and I don't know anything about it. I do know that if the contamination is linked in directly to activities at Buick City, then they should follow up with Racer on that, and Racer would have some cleanup responsibility there. But the reality is that it's probably a depositional thing, which may be related to the plant or could just be related to other atmospheric deposition from the industrial past of Flint. It's hard to know, but it's something that they could look into.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead. Oh, yeah, well, I just heard her, but I'll go with Judy because she's closer.
No, she didn't.
It was me and Candace.
Okay, go ahead. Ms. Mashat.
Real quick.
Ms. Mashat.
Okay, you can do this if you want to. I can go home if you
What?
want to be.
So-
play these games.
My question is, you talked about the fact that there's currently some PFAS running off into the sewer system right now, correct? The clean sewer system.
The sanitary sewer.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, sanitary. I'll say the correct word, yes.
Yeah.
The sanitary sewer system.
Yeah.
The PFAS is currently running off.
Yeah, then it
How
gets-
long before they do the work that you said where they're going to disconnect from that completely and reroute?
Yeah, I believe it's scheduled for this summer. They had to bid the work, they had to get approval from Eagle to do it, and they're working in conjunction with the city on the scheduling. I believe it's this summer.
They would be Racer Trust.
Yeah, Racer Trust will be paying for that work.
And in the interim,
What's
that's still, the PFAS is still leaking.
So what's happening is the PFAS is getting into the sanitary sewer, which is then going to the wastewater treatment plant.
Correct. So if the PFAS is getting off into the sanitary sewer and it's just actively happening and it's not going to be corrected until the summer, what does that mean?
Well, it means that Eagle is, I believe they issued a violation notice because of the contamination getting into the sewer, and then Racer has to respond to it, and so does the city because it's affecting their wastewater treatment plant, and they're both working in conjunction with the state government to address the problem.
So they've issued a liability notice.
Well, they already are liable for it, and they've
Right.
acknowledged that. And so the thing is that, and I know that it's
I think I
frustrating.
have a question that you
Yeah.
can't answer.
Yeah.
I think that's
Fundamentally, yeah, I guess
I have
so.
a question that you can't answer. I actually need someone from the city to answer the question that I have.
Yeah, I would recommend you follow up with this sanitary department.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Burns. We don't want you to
Thank
leave the meeting.
Oh, wow.
No, she said, don't make me leave and go home.
Your stuff, this is
Go
really
ahead.
important. which is why I'm here, Mark. And
Thank
we
you.
have a president who wants to make jokes. I could very well leave and none of this will get done. But my issue is, you have deadlines and timelines. We don't have, 365 warm weather. And so you can't do anything when it's cold or the ground is frozen. So here's one of the things, because if you haven't been at the Racer Trust meetings, they've been cleaning up since what year?
Since their inception, which I believe goes back to 2010 or 11.
So we've had years of cleanup, and I've been at those. Arthur Woodson has even put them on his page, and he would often challenge you on them, on certain things, and also with the Racer Trust. So a lot of people don't understand, the cleanup has been going on. So you did not purchase, I think was it where the foundry is at, and where the paint was dumped. You don't have the most contaminated land. You didn't purchase that.
Well, I mean, the land we have is pretty contaminated. I mean,
Yeah,
it is. It's just not as, the main issue is that by the time that they were ready to sell us the property, Racer had most of the contamination on the property under control. Doesn't mean they cleaned it up like in terms of destruction or removal, but it was under control and not leaving the property and could be redeveloped safely.
Right.
But the PFAS issue, they are not finished with.
And when people don't understand what PFAS is, which that's nickel cyanide, other dangerous chemicals, which are there. So which part that you didn't purchase, what are the parcels where are those located at?
There's a part, basically from Baker Street to the south, east of Industrial, west of the road.
Is that where the DuPont plant used to be?
I don't know where the DuPont plant was.
It was Hamilton and, everything used to be a one-way.
Yeah.
Just like half a block of industrial. It's been, DuPont plant has been gone for a long time. But it's basically at the front like we're Hamilton.
Yeah.
And then your foundry. And so that's where a lot of the contamination was. But Racer Trust has committed how many dollars to clean up that was set aside when General Motors,
Yeah, I don't know the Racer's budget, but it's millions.
I think it was 700 and something million.
Well, Racer Trust as a whole received like a huge settlement from the federal government to
Right.
fund their activities, and then it was apportioned by site. I don't know exactly how much in Michigan or how much specifically for this site, but I know it's in the millions.
Yeah, and so when are they done with cleaning up the site?
They will be, I don't know. I mean, that's really a question for them. I think a lot of this has to do with how they deal with the PFAS issue, which is not unique to them. That's kind of a new emerging contaminant that's causing problems all over the country, especially because of the levels that they're searching for and finding it at. But I don't know how long it's going to take them to resolve it.
And so you were stating how many people that are working together on this. You said the city of Flint.
This project has been a collaboration from multiple levels of government. It involves the city of Flint, Genesee County, the Mott Foundation, the state of Michigan, multiple divisions of the state of Michigan, and then also the federal government.
Okay. And so for those who, and I believe this is more than one site, so Google, I love Google. It says Racer Trust responsible for cleaning up and revitalizing former GM locations received $500 million when it was established. Its funding, along with oversight from state and federal agencies, is used to conduct safe and effective environmental cleanups. So, and I think that because it was so long, we've had a lot that's happened with the city of Flint. People don't, these meetings are just enough.
Yeah.
And then if you're saying, I'm gonna go to Racer Trust, which I've been at those meetings, I've seen you there. We had interesting conversation at those meetings. And it's been over years. So they were given millions to do this cleanup. And so who makes sure Racer Trust is doing it properly, just so you can put it on the record?
Yeah, Eagle. So what happens is the way the settlement works is that Racer Trust has to present a budget for their activities that they want to do to Eagle, which is the state cleanup agency for Michigan, and sometimes it's EPA. It depends on the site, but this particular site is Eagle, and Eagle has oversight. They review everything they do, and they also have to approve their budget.
Okay, and people don't know what Eagle is.
It's
People here in Flint don't trust anybody.
No, and rightfully so, given the history, right? But Eagle is the environmental, Great Lakes, let me think, hold on a second. Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy Department of the state of Michigan, which was formerly the Department of Environmental Quality, which has oversight and implementation of all environmental cleanup responsibilities for the state of Michigan.
And so you can also go to Racer Trust website, and you can see what the cleanup is. And it's been years. And some of it, like you stated, you cannot clean up, but it can be contained as the site is developed. So the site is one of, I was told it was one of 5 sites, Buick site, like that. I believe it's in the world, or is it in the U.S.?
It depends on which metric you're referring to.
Okay, with the amount of power, the capacity that it could, we had a powerhouse that could light up, that could power the city at one time. I don't know where it's at now, but it used to be, because they wanted to make sure we could continue to build.
Yeah, a big attraction of as we meet and like are talking with companies looking at coming to Buick, the new Flint Commerce Center, you know, that used to be Buick City, is yes, there is a tremendous amount of sewer and water capacity. There's also a lot of power capacity, but unfortunately, it's not as much as you would think, but that's because the amount of power that we used in processes back in the 80s don't compare to the type of needs for, like, you know, the electric vehicle industry and, power or data centers and things like that. Like, they require phenomenally more power, so we still need to bring more power to the site, but the sewer and water capacity is very high and would accommodate just about anything.
And I want to say that because I did work in economic development, and it is extremely hard for sites like this. Mahindra, for their site, backed out. There was maybe 2 or 3 that backed out. So it's really difficult to find someone or business or company or corporation to develop it, one, because of the level of contamination, and then the strict guidelines.
Yeah.
And so you are now working on building 2 of 10, and you will be there for, what, another 10, 12 years?
Yeah, the timing and how long it takes us will be driven a little bit by the market, but yeah, it's probably 10 years to do the full demolition and revitalization. And I know someone asked earlier about how far we've gotten. So, like in terms of the main center part of the property where all the foundations and buildings were, we've cleaned about 40 acres so far.
About 40 acres. Okay, well, that's what, we want for reparations and a mule. But, all right, thank you, Madam Chair. I yield the floor.
Anyone else? So, all right, so go ahead. Councilman, second ward.
So, Racer Trust is responsible for the cleanup?
Racer Trust was responsible for getting the contamination at the site at a point where it would be considered to be controlled for industrial development. And they're responsible for stopping and preventing any contamination migrating off the property.
And do we have working definitions of what controlled means when we talk about this contamination?
Yeah, it means no exposure to any, for any person or the environment for the proposed use.
So no exposure means that leaking as well, correct?
Yes. Yeah, like if something was, like if there was still oil leaking into the sewer, that would be considered an active exposure and they would be responsible to stop it.
So exposure is still, it's not, so what you're basically saying to me is once they close off that sewer line and reroute the sanitary sewer line, that would satisfy their definition of exposure?
If they can demonstrate that there is no longer any of the contamination getting into a receptor, i.e. like a sewer, then yes. They'd also have to show that the contamination is not moving in a way that would threaten another sewer as well.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, the definition of that we're working off of is as long as the contamination is not getting into a sewer.
Well, as long as the contamination is not creating an exposure to any person or the environment, which in this case, the only way that would happen would be if the groundwater was migrating into the river, which it's not, or getting into a sewer to go someplace else.
Right, but when we use the term environment, we're using a very broad term.
1 second. So right now, that is our 15 minutes, and I'll entertain a motion to put another, you need another 10 minutes? Yeah. Yes, okay, yeah, so.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Ms. Priestley.
Make a motion to extend this this discussion for another 10 minutes.
All right, supported by the Councilman in the first ward. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Winfrey Carter is absent. Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Mashat?
Yes.
Mr. Pfeiffer is absent. Mr. Jarrett is absent. Mr. Alamine? Yes. Dr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Priestley?
Yes.
The vote is 5 yes, 0 no.
All right, so go ahead and proceed, Council.
So,
I'm sorry, didn't hear. So we have 5 yeses, 0 no. Proceed, Madam Vice President.
right, and so what is the working definition of environment? Because when you say environment, that still includes beyond the running off into the river. So what is the definition of environment here?
So Michigan uses a risk-based cleanup standard, which is adopted similar to the federal government. And what that means is that they identify receptors to human health or the environment, which generally is defined as like flora and fauna. Mm-hmm. So if there is groundwater contamination that is like getting into, say, a river or getting into a sewer that can then be used as a conduit to get to some other place, then that would be considered, an immediate exposure that needs to be stopped.
So technically then, if we're talking, if we close this off and it's still leaking and it rains or something and it's still leaking and it get washed somewhere, that is still exposure to the environment.
Well, they would be responsible through groundwater sampling and modeling to show that that's not happening. And if it would be happening, then they'd have to deal with that too. I do want to be respectful of Razor. I don't have all the details. I'm generally aware of their activities, but with respect to the contamination in Hamilton Avenue, I know that they are working directly with Eagle and the City Water Department to address that problem. And I know that they've only recently become aware of it and been able to prove where the actual source was. And now that they have that, they're now moving diligently to address it with the state government. And my understanding is they're going to take place with some construction activities this summer. I would recommend you follow up, and I can give you the name of the Racer people if you want to follow up with them directly for more details on that.
Sure, go ahead and email that to me, because what
Sure.
I do want to be very clear on is that PFAS is a forever chemical, a cancer-causing forever chemical.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to make sure when we start using terms that we're all clear on what those terms mean. So when we say contamination, that I understand what your working definition of contamination is. When you say cleaned up, I understand what your working definition of cleaned up is. When you say environment, I understand what your working definition of environment is. Because these are all, in actuality, broad terms that could still lead to, in some way, shape, or form, harm, if not properly addressed. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think it's important that we're all speaking the same language, and I know that it can be sometimes frustrating or confusing when people realize the term doesn't mean the same that other people think it means. But generally speaking, contamination means, broadly speaking, in the legal definition of our state, would mean the presence of contamination above the recommended cleanup levels, right? And then the cleanup levels are based on exposure pathways. So there's a drinking water number that says it's not safe to drink. There's a level that says it's
I
not safe
understand.
to wear.
So how much PFAS is safe to drink?
According to the EPA, they've changed. I don't know because they keep changing it. But last I saw, it was somewhere around 200 nanograms or something like that per liter.
Realistically, human life, if I gave you that much PFAS to drink right now, would you drink it?
No, but I think it's important to understand that nobody's drinking that water because people are getting their water from the City of Flint municipal system, which is treated water.
Right. Fun fact, though. When we talk about our sanitary system, that goes into our wastewater. We talk about our wastewater, that goes back into the river. When we talk about our river, unfortunately, that is considered a backup source for us should we need it. Mm-hmm. And so what we don't need is PFAS going from there into a sanitary system, into wastewater, into the river, and then God forbid we have an emergency, we're now drinking it.
No, you're absolutely correct, and that's why the wastewater treatment plants across the state are being regulated by Eagle to test their wastewater treatment plant discharge for PFAS, and they're addressing that as fast as
I hear you, but been there, done that.
Yeah,
with
no,
Eagle.
yeah.
Been there, done that with the EPA.
Right.
And PFAS is a whole different ballgame from lead.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I would highly recommend you follow up with Racer to get more details, because I only have a working understanding or knowledge of what they're planning on doing.
All right, so I can expect an email with the names and contact information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much. I yield.
All right, anyone else? Go ahead, Ms. Priestley.
So one of the things I don't think people really understand is that when you are cleaning, because of the work that you have to do to the site in order to build on, that you are having to open up the ground, which is why, and what Racer does is not get into the ground and remove those underground things. And this is my oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. The recollection from your previous visits to us about your brownfield plan is that because Racer isn't required to remove the utilities and foundations, they didn't have to do as much work as what you're having to do on this site.
Yeah, Racer's responsibility was to control the contamination, which from that perspective involved shutting off sewers, replacing some sewers, and then leaving the existing slabs in place as a cap. That essentially controls the exposure to the contamination, but it doesn't mean the site is buildable, because nobody can build on all the buried utilities and foundations. So we have to then expose that to remove it, and because we're disturbing that cap, we then become responsible to manage all of that.
And that's why it's so expensive.
Yeah.
And we are blessed in this state that investors like Ashley Capital have the ability to do not have to foot the entire bill. And yes, it does affect the residents because those taxes are being paid back to you. One of the things that Mr. Pfeiffer did in our initial conversation is he wanted assurances for all the details of the expenditures.
Yeah.
And so that's actually written into the contract so that we don't just take your word for it.
Yeah, no, that's true, yeah.
So I just wanted the residents to know that that is in place.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's worth to note, too, I mean, sometimes it ends up being a little bit of inside baseball, but the thing is the way a brownfield plan works is we actually spend all the money. What we're getting paid back with is really just deferred taxes. So it's taxes that we essentially don't, so it functions kind of more like a tax, like abatement, whatnot, until we can reimburse ourselves for that cost. But so the city of Flint, you could argue, right, is sort of paying for it because those taxes are not necessarily being paid. They're paying for it in the sense of deferred taxes, but the problem and the reason why this structure exists is because if we don't do those activities, those taxes do not exist. So it's a cart before the horse issue, but we understand that, which is why we wanted to make sure that we structured the plan as best we could to try to push as much tax dollars as possible into the city's coffers.
And by you building on this property, we're collecting 20% of the tax we're going to be able to keep, plus we'll have any income tax that the employees will pay, as well as any personal property tax that the renters or your lessees.
Well, the personal property tax can also be captured by the brownfield plan, depending on what it is and what that goes. Yeah, but
so
yes,
whatever that is.
Yeah, the percentage of that would go through, yes.
Right, will be coming to Flint too. And so we're not just giving you money, we're actually assisting to get more money for the residents that will help improve city services, et cetera, down the line.
Yes, and I mean, the hard truth is sites like this cannot be redeveloped with strict private market sources alone because you can never get to market rents. The hole is too big.
And so since I live around the corner from the old Delphi plant, they haven't even touched that site. Yeah. All they've done is taken down the buildings. And God, who knows what's underneath there. It's probably not as contaminated as the old Buick City was, but we don't know.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I mean,
no, I know.
There's environmental reports that you could follow up with the state on that. But I know that, that site is going to have similar issues if it ever gets redeveloped.
Absolutely. So, we want all of our sites to be redeveloped and improved for the residents' life. Thank you. I'm done.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Mashat.
Right. So be clear. I am not saying, I recognize that you are building on top of a site that is already contaminated. Not saying this is an Ashley Capital thing at all, but what I am saying is that when people come in and they build on brownfields, they know that those are contaminated sites. So they know the risks that is posed to the environment around them. I am just saying that it is literally our job to make sure that when we're talking about contamination and we're talking about remediation, all that stuff, that we are all on the same page with definitions as well as fixes for the problem, as well as possible concerns for the community. So I want you to understand, cool, happy, Ashley Capital is here. Awesome that you're bringing jobs, but we just want to make sure that we are not damaging ourselves in the process of getting more jobs.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so that concludes our discussion. Thank you so much, Mr. Quimby. All right, so now it is time for public comment. Madam Clerk, first speaker, please.
First speaker is Jedediah Brown.
Unfortunately, he's not here. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Rich Jones.
Did you say Richard Jones?
Rich Jones.
Yes, so he's not here as well.
Next speaker is Gladys Williamson.
Yes, you haven't addressed how will a fourth emergency manager affect all this money and this project. Because if you think that there's not a fourth emergency manager headed into Flint with all this hiding money and moving money and shifting money and 501c3s, you think again. We are so close to having another emergency manager in here. Nobody's speaking about it, but how will an emergency manager affect this man and his business with Flint? And just like he said, and what's going to happen when we have catastrophe storms that are so catastrophic that the banks and all the sewer lines back up? What's going to happen to all them chemicals? And what's going to happen to all that they are cleaning up only to a certain level of what they have to do what they want to do? Because I don't trust these people as far as I could take my eyes off of them or use. Yeah. Because you still got your hands on the leaded water money. Ain't talking about the interest of the leaded water money. And you just have moved right on. No, we're still at the leaded water money. And we're still at 7 cases of water in my kitchen at any given time, and we're still at so much chlorine in my sinks, coming out of my sinks, that I could go to Swartz Creek swimming pool and have less chlorine swimming in that pool than what's coming out of my spigot. And you just don't talk about that. You don't talk about the hot water tanks that are banging and clanging because they still have lead in them. And how much more poison are we going to have to deal with from this little business deal? I just have a lot of questions that aren't getting answered, but, you just are moving right along. Just clippity-clop. Good for yous, good for the city. I don't think it's good for the citizens. at your little 20% profit.
All right. Next public speaker, Madam Clerk.
Next speaker is Audrey Young Muhammad.
Alrighty, yep, I'm Audrey Young Muhammad from the 2nd Ward. I'm gonna start off by talking about the abuse of power, abuse of authority. We've seen greatly put it into place today, especially with even the signing in for the meetings, and then not being accepted, an illegal meeting being called when there wasn't even a quorum here. I'm sure this will be twisted up by the 7, because she always twists up anything that anybody say. The abuse of authority with putting out a spectator, a person that's here in the audience, a new citizen of the city of Flint, because they came in and they asked a question when it was asked that the meeting be at ease. I think it wasn't, he just asked about what did that mean? And then put him out by the Flint City Police Department. There's been corruption there for years. It ain't just started. Been put out because he came in with a bullhorn, but yet and still you allow council members to come in with their guns and then publicly state that they came in with guns against citizens who was here because they felt like their life was threatened and the person wasn't even present. So that's an abuse of authority. We got to stop that. You all are weaponizing the police against the citizens of Flint when they are supposed to be here to adhere and protect the citizens. You got some standing back there now that want to come out against us. Then the spectator downstairs, he told if he come inside of the city hall building, period, they were going to arrest him. So he's standing outside the building. You talk about abuse of authority. The summer jobs, abuse of authority. You got children who worked. I had a mom call me, said that her child worked and didn't get paid for all the hours that they worked last year. So I asked her to please call down here and take up that down here with the city, because that's abuse of authority. This child came in to learn life skills so that she could be able to go and get gainful employment, but yet was abused by not being paid for all of her hours of service. We ain't gonna even start talking about the water. This farce of trying to make sure, okay, we're gonna give water to try to balance out the fund, when that should have been done. You done caused so much stress on the citizens by the citizen having to be stressed about water accountability, water bills being paid, and you know the water still ain't clean. You got people calling in and asking, is the water clean? We just had a whole forum on Friday. Thank you, Miss Tanya Burns, Councilwoman from the 6th Ward, and Jerry Winfrey Carter, Councilwoman from the 5th Ward, for coming out and hearing the concerns from the citizens of Flint who wanted to know, where is our money? Why is the water still not clean, and the water quality and the things that they can see that is not happening from here in the city of Flint? Thank you all once again.
All right. Next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Next speaker is Patricia Ledman.
Okay, I don't think that person is
Ledman.
here.
Next speaker is Kawana Mack.
All right, I don't think Ms. Mack is in attendance as well.
The next speaker is R.L. Mitchell.
Hello, I'm R.L. Mitchell. About the heroes in Flint. A little while ago, they come up, they wanted to be recognized, but nobody act like they didn't want to recognize them because the Ward 1 didn't want to, and then they all of a sudden they got recognized because, but then they ain't show their certificates. They just fresh on the board. They saved people's lives like this Saturday. The street was booming with firemen all through the streets and policemen, and the firemen chased. It was a whole lot of shooting, and they upper hand. They done more hero than the popo. And because Sunday morning I was waiting on the bus to go to Sunday school. the church, and one of the firemen come, man, I see you every Sunday sitting on this corner. He said, where you going? The church. He said, get in my truck. I didn't know the boy, his mama go to my church. The boy, 26 years old, he said, it's been a bad night, Mitchell. We've been chasing gun shooting all night long and 4 fires and all of a sudden, here come the 4 heroes up here. They talk about, I didn't know all this was going on. And people's making a joke out of don't want people to talk before 4:30 and stuff and all this junk and keeping whole lot of people want to come. They ask me how you get in here and talk. But they get turned away for this is the new generation over there. And people like you, Miss Priestley, talking about what money you got left. We gonna put it on the Peapot generation. Build it on that Tamanic land, only 1 mile pipe, that's just a money pot. They just doing that, just think they can get away with it. And all that junk. Like Woodrow Stanley he built all them houses on contaminated land and get tax and stuff. You don't talk about that. Brand new houses. Or there were Humpty Dumpty's Stowe Act from St. John to where white people used to live. They didn't allow no darkies over there on Hamilton Street. Where how many brothers at? Why don't you tear down that brown? How many brothers and build a new one right there right across the street from their church? They don't want black people to come through their Jewish churches with the bells still worth a whole lot of money. It ain't tore that down yet. And Jane P. Cole, the paint department right across the river from where you live at. You can just look over. That paint department, they ain't just took the building up and they ain't must dig in that ground yet. That polluted paint dupop. Yeah, I just live on take that.
All
Take
right.
that.
So, next public speaker, Madam Clerk.
The next speaker is Doug Matthews.
Hello, everyone. My name is Doug Matthews. I'm a veteran, a good government advocate, and a resident of the 7th Ward. I come up here often, and I won't apologize for it, because silence is what corruption feeds on, and Flint deserves better than silence. Tonight, I want to say something deeper. Yes, there are politicians who drag this city down. The Snakebite Four, Burns, Pfeiffer, Winfrey Carter, Joseph King, and their faction of self-interested, race-baiting haters. They want you to believe that despair is all that Flint has left, and that Mayor Neely is the author of all evil. But I know better. Flint knows better. Flint's soul is not found in their political games. It's found in our neighborhoods, our shelters, our homes. It's found in the Genesee County Animal Shelter, where a broken dog named Smoke waited, and where many hundreds of you cried, shared, and proved Flint still has a heart. Flint fights for the forgotten. Flint does not turn away from injustice. And I'll tell you this, whether you in the 3rd Ward elect decent leadership, or whether you choose A.C. Dumas, who lies before the EAB, or Beverly Big Sleazy, who steals food from the mouth of babes, it won't discourage me at all. If anything, it'll double my resolve. And if they start pulling the same race-baiting stunts from that dais, just like the Snakebite Four I mentioned above, I'll sue them just the same. I'll fight for this city with everything I have, no matter what. Because Flint deserves better. We deserve better. The real Flint, the Flint with heart and grit and dignity, loyalty, that Flint is worth fighting for. And for the record, any action I take will be through lawful, peaceful means. The courts, not the streets. Unlike Burns. I thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you, Mr. Matthews. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
The next speaker is Tanya Jones.
Hello, I'm Tanya Jones, and I'm here. I can't even vote in Flint, in the city of Flint. I'm here, I have an autistic son, which I have 3 adult children. They're 30, well, I don't even know their ages. They're all in their 30s, and I'm advocating for my son that's autistic. First of all, Candace, my son went to church with you, and you put it on record that you didn't know him the last time I brought him here. I bring him to these church, these council meetings, because I want to educate him. Even though he's autistic, certain things he need to know. His dad got killed by the Howard State gang, 2012 on Easter Sunday. So certain things with politics he needs to know growing up, because I'm not going to always be here to advocate for him. When it comes to the second ward, from my understanding, you know what I'm saying, the summer programs, they got Quest, they got Camp Cope behind it with my son participating in it. It was great. So I'm saying the same way you work hard to get the money for your church, work hard for this opiate. If the opiate crisis is real, when they say Narcan, it don't take one of these boxes. Sometimes it takes 4, 5, 6. I'm just educating you because I had to get educated on this. Okay, my kids didn't go to the Flint schools at all. As soon as I found out he was autistic, I took him out of Flint. Okay, so my thing is I love everything about Flint. I'm not going nowhere since he brought my attention to this system that is broken, so broken. And another thing, my father is the chairperson of Black Lives Matter. So the same way he walked here and protest for Black Lives Matter, I'm advocating for my son. So this is all I want to say. Y'all got a lot of stuff going on here. I had wrote a list. He had a bullhorn and got walked out today. That could be me, because I'm very voiceful. Because I guess what? I'm not an angry black woman. I'm an angry mother. Because all I got, my kids. Okay, that's what matters to me. And this, what y'all doing around here is so broken. I'm realizing I can't even vote. I'm not even in the city of Flint. I own housing. I own housing in your ward. So I sit back I watch everything. So I don't have no horse in this race. But if I'm a mother, I raise my kids to the best of my ability. But if you want to be a preacher, if you want to be a teacher, my son, his teacher, Miss Armstrong, the best autism teacher there is. So if you sit in that chair, you're supposed to do what's best for the people. I'm doing what's best for my child. Just try to not have 6 feet under or dead. So I'm gonna keep coming here, and I might seem angry. I'm gonna start calming down, go see my psychiatrist and all that, because I'm not going nowhere. The system is broken here, though. We all need God, so I'm going to stop right here, 32. Have a nice day.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, Madam Clerk.
The next speaker is David Garden.
Hello, my name is David Garden. I'm just here today to talk about Flint housing, low-income housing, how you have a person that works for the Flint House. She's been in the Flint House for 14 years. And you guys know her, Ms. Geraldine Redmond. And it seems like some of you people on the board here is attacking her. And the only reason you're attacking her is because you're trying to get to the mayor. And that's wrong. That is really wrong. I don't know if any of you guys been out to the Flint Housing Commission, know anything about the Flint Housing Commission, the low-income housing. I've been there 40-some years. So I know the EDs, the directors, and everybody that's been coming through there. And the people that's putting that story out about her, if anybody, anything you should do, you should check the ones who put all the information out there on her. She works diligently for the Flint Housing Commission. Doesn't get a check. She doesn't get paid for it. This is all volunteer. She lives out there and she works with the tenants. She works with the maintenance people, everybody out there. But now this thing is out here that she embezzled $9,000. Well, the people that put it out there is the one doing the stealing. We talk about Harold Entz, who was the director out there. They gave him his money. They gave him money. But the lawyer, they fired the lawyer, and he's the one out there putting out all the dirt. So if any investigation need to be done, it's on them, not her. She agreed to pay the money back. I don't know why, because she did annuals every year for every director out there, and they have to cut the check to her. So if any investigation, leave the mayor alone. I ain't for the mayor either. I'm not. But what I'm saying is that don't put her in front, and you're trying to get the mayor. Leave it alone, please. Thank you.
All right. Next public speaker, Madam Clerk.
The final speaker for this meeting is Beverly Biggs Levy.
Okay, I don't think Ms. Biggs Levy is here. So we will go ahead and we will move on to our council response. Do we have any council members that would like to respond?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Ms. Burns.
Thank you. Mr. Gardner, I do want to speak to that. I believe it is now under investigation. You may not have been aware, we got a lot of stuff in our email. There was stuff. We cannot speak to it now because the Flint City Council is being sued. And so by, I believe, the former director, because we didn't have a hearing. So I reached out to her numerous times when I first got it. She never returned my call. And that was months and months ago. So now it looks like it's going to court because there has been a lawsuit filed and it names the Flint City Council as part of it. So we can't really speak on it, and I assume at that point there is an investigation. I don't know in regards to that. I do want to speak to, before I got here, I don't know what if Jedediah Brown was put out for a bullhorn or what, but I don't think we don't have a bullhorn ordinance. I mean, if we at ease means we're at break, it doesn't mean there's no set of rules that states for everyone in these council chambers, you gotta be sitting down, you can't talk, you can't move around. There are no rules, and we have to quit making up rules that don't exist. So when we have business that needs to be done, there is some business that has to be done when you're talking about coordinating 12 agencies to get something done. Our residents were disrespected. They're disrespected by our council members. We work for them. And business does not want to come here, and it's not because of all the council members. And the businesses are tired of the garbage too. I don't have time to do a special meeting. And it's the only reason why I stayed, because I have family members that are in the hospital. So this council needs to start serving the people and stop serving themselves. It's just not right.
All right. Do we have anyone else that would like to respond during council response?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Ms. Priestley.
I just want to talk about Geraldine's work for the residents, because you're in the same, I can never remember the names, but Centerview, and I have 2 Housing Commission properties in my ward. Yeah, yeah. And so it's when the Centerview had a major water break, and they were several days without water, Geraldine called me. And she was there advocating for the residents at that building. And I think I was out there 3 times, and she was out there a lot more to get that fixed. So so I know that she has a good heart. I'm not going to address any of the other things about it, just that I know that she has worked hard for the residents in those 2 buildings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Priestley. Did I see Councilman Alamine? Did you have?
Yes.
Go
Madam
ahead,
Chair,
please.
I would like to speak to what Mr. Dave had mentioned. He's actually correct without going too far into it, as my colleague had mentioned, we're in litigation. But I was over at Flint Housing when the suspensions and things were taking place on the executive director and his whole administrative team were being investigated. So it's kind of ironic that, you know, they are coming at Ms. Redmond at this particular time when they were all let go. If they knew these things prior, then it seemed like this stuff should have been brought up a long time ago. And also, they have failed, no one's meant talking about the little baby that died over there and how the neglect of securing that window and trying to cover that story up. They're not speaking to that, but they're trying to come sue someone. So we need to address, that wasn't the only baby, that was the only one the public learned about. It was one prior 2 months to that fell out of the Aldridge Place window that they covered up. And when individuals like myself and Ms. Redmond started speaking on it, all of a sudden these things are starting to come out and say this and that and so forth. So I hope that everyone really do their due diligence and let the courts go through the process. But I do concur with Mr. Day said. It's mighty ironic. All of a sudden they want to say these things and try to bring people to court when they themselves are not straight on everything or telling the public everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Mashat.
Thank you. So, a couple of things, because our colleague in the 6th Ward did say that she was not here, so she didn't understand the particulars. We were not at ease. We were not in a recess. He was not put out because of a bullhorn. He actually approached the podium and was speaking, and we were not having public speaking. He was asked to sit down by the chief of police. The chief of police actually asked him to sit down, and he refused to sit down. And so the chief asked him again, he refused again, and so then the chief told him he needed to leave the meeting. So it had nothing to do with a bullhorn. We weren't at ease. We weren't at recess. We were actually sitting here waiting for our colleagues to come back to the meeting so that we could have the meeting. Another thing, I do want to correct on the record, and she's gone already, Miss Tanya. When she was talking about her son and last time she was here, and I said I did not know who her son was, that is still accurate. I did not know who her son was, but then when I went back there and talked to her and she showed me a picture of him, I am well aware of who her son is, so she is actually correct. I do know who her son is. Her son and I do attend the same church, so she is correct in that. I just wanted to make sure I put that out there for the record. And I believe Audrey Muhammad, she's already gone, but as long as she knows it was coming, I want everybody to be clear. Rule 29.3, members of the public who wish to address the city council or its committees must register before the meeting begins. A box will be placed at the entrance of the council chambers for collection for registration. No additional speaker slips will be accepted after the meeting begins. Once the meeting begins, once the gavel is hit. A quorum does not decide the beginning of the meeting, it decides the beginning of the business. So once that gavel is hit, that is the beginning of the meeting. That is the time when speaker slips are done. So, everybody that seems to be confused or would like to rewrite history or rewrite rules, the rule is when the meeting begins. Quorum does not mean the beginning of a meeting. As a matter of fact, in order to establish the fact that you have 5 people here, you need the meeting to begin. Otherwise, it's just 5 people sitting here. Thank you.
All right, so seeing that there's no one else, I'll go ahead and take my allotted time. Just want to speak, for one, to our heroes, Christopher Smith, Angel Hunter, Jalen Washington. Although we could not honor them during the council members because we have council members that refuse to take their seats, we are happy that we were able to do so. They are real-life superheroes. Next, I want to encourage residents to peruse the rules in the charter for further understanding of how the city council functions. Everything could be found, again, in our council rules and charter, and if you would like a copy, please refer to the clerk. Next, as we look to investigate the Housing Commission, I'm totally not against it. However, first we must start with the Ethics and Accountability Board. We've been trying to have a hearing for a long time for a board member who have threatened to cause harm to me, and as well as for a board member that assaulted a senior citizen in the lobby of this city hall. So before we jump into that, we need to take care of our house cleaning here and make sure that the board that's supposed to be held to the highest standard and hold us to the highest standard, that they're holding themselves to the highest standard. So I would like to, again, remind my colleagues, before we move on with the Housing Commission, with Geraldine Redmond, let's take care of the business with Billy Danzler. And then as far as St. Mark goes, the reason why they will not receive my support is because they said on the record on the Tanya Burns show that they service Grand Blanc and beyond.
Sir, well, we don't ask people for their address most of the time, unless we're directed by the the Eastern Michigan Food Bank, because we try to follow the rules as best as we can. But we see a lot of 48433 area codes. We see a lot of Grand Blanc. We got all the area codes. Everybody just come around, even in Fenton. So it's a need.
All right, so with that being stated on the record, we can only support people in the city of Flint. That's why they don't have our vote. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which...
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I'm asking if the council will allow me to clarify something that I stated at the last committee meetings when Ms. Priestley allowed me to elaborate on the
Absolutely.
special
Go ahead, Madam
election.
Clerk.
I just want to state for the record, I had discussed the property portal, and I noted that the property portal is correct in the wards that it states. But I want to say for the record, the property portal, again, is manned by the IT division, so I cannot speak to its accuracy. The clerk's office has nothing to do with that, so I want to make sure that people know that the property portal is for information about your property. Again, I would suggest not going to the property portal for any information about voting or elections. And I also mentioned MVIC without really stating what that is. That's the Michigan Voter Information Center. That is on the Secretary of State's website, and that is where your current and proper voter information will be located. So again, you can go to MVIC, Michigan Voter Information Center, on the Secretary of State website, or call the council office for your voter information. And one other thing I wanted to clarify is the voter registration cards. The voter registration cards that were mailed out in early 2024 were due to precinct consolidations. So the wards did not change. Those were changed in 2022, but in early 2024, we did consolidate
Point of
precincts.
order.
What is your point?
Can we get you to cut your phone off after you just slandered a pastor? I just heard your phone. Can you put your phone on mute, please?
As I chair the meeting, I would do the same thing. Go ahead, Madam
Yes,
Clerk.
so I just wanted to clarify that those voter registration cards that were sent out early last year, 2024, and again, later on last year, were due to precinct consolidation, so those were for location changes for where you might be voting. So it did not have anything to do with the ward changes that were done in 2022. I just wanted to clarify those things for the record. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Madam Clerk. So now we will move on to reconsiderations. So what is the pleasure of the body for the reallocation of ARPA funds for Youth Arts Unlocked?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Ms. Byrne.
Not Youth Unlocked. No, I apologize.
All righty. So it is a motion on the floor to reconsider Youth Arts Unlocked 250085. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Burns?
No.
Ms. Mashat?
Yes.
Mr. Pfeiffer is absent. Mr. Jarrett is absent. Mr. Alamine? Dr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Priestley?
Yes.
Ms. Winfrey Carter is absent. The vote is 4 yes, 1 no.
The vote is 4 yes, 1 no. The reallocation of ARPA funds for Youth Arts Unlocked, it fails reconsideration. So now we're on to the reallocation of ARPA funds for St. Mark Missionary Baptist Church.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Make a motion to send 240548, St. Mark's Missionary Baptist Church Community Outreach Center Food Access and Support System to council.
Okay, that's in proper motion. The
Or
proper
to be
motion
approved.
is to reconsider.
Thank you, for reconsideration.
Absolutely, my pleasure to help. Any support for that? All right, seeing there's no support, that reconsideration fails. So now we will move on to the consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the body?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Ms. Priestley.
make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
There's a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there any support? All right, and supported by the councilwoman in the 7th Ward. Our councilman in the 1st Ward, he stepped out for a restroom break. So we will remain at ease until he returns. Yeah, Mr. Mitchell, it means warning if you keep yelling out. So let's stop yelling out. All right. So we are looking to vote to pass the consent agenda with any separations, and that also includes the presentation of minutes. Roll call, Madam Clerk. With any corrections for the minutes.
That's part of the consent agenda.
Ms. Mashat.
Madam.
They weren't separated.
They
yeah.
weren't, yeah, you,
Point of order, I guess. The minutes were not separated. They're part of the consent agenda.
Right, but she also has to say
Oh.
with the corrections.
Yeah, but we're voting on the
a
consent.
point of order. You didn't ask.
What
for any-
is your
You didn't
point?
ask for any separations.
Are there any separations?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Let's separate the entire agenda.
All right, so the entire agenda has been separated. And so we are voting to approve the presentation of minutes with any corrections.
So moved.
All right. Any support? Supported by the councilman in the 1st Ward. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Mashat. Mr. Alamine. Dr. Lewis.
Yes.
Ms. Priestley.
Yes.
Ms. Burns.
Yes.
Vote is 5 yes, 0 no.
The vote is 5 yes, 0 no. So now we will move on to the resolutions.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
we have petitions and communications on this agenda.
I can't hear you.
There are petitions and communications on this agenda that will need to be voted on.
Madam Chair,
Oh, go ahead.
I vote to accept petitions and communications as listed in the agenda.
All right. Any support? Supported by the councilman in the 1st Ward. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Discussion.
Mr. Alamine? Dr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Priestley?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Mashat? The vote is 5 yes, 0 no.
The vote is 5 yes, 0 no. The communications and petitions have been accepted. So now we're on to resolutions. The first resolution is 240546.1. Pleasure of the body.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Ms. Priestley.
Make a motion to approve 240546.1T, Amendment 1, the Flint Commerce Center, Brownfield.
All right, supported by the councilwoman in the 7th Ward. Any discussion? All right, any
Madam
discussion
Chair.
in this?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Yes, for you to, Mark Quimby, if you could come up. So this is the last part of your approval, correct? We've had your hearing.
Yes, for the
And so-
local approval,
And
yes.
so what was your timeline, and why this was so important?
Yeah, it's really important because we have to have this local process completed for the state process to also complete. And we are working with the MEDC, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, to try to get to the MSF board for approval in June. And for that to happen, they have to have all their paperwork lined up in May. And so getting this approved at this date is really important to us.
Okay, so how many agencies and licensing, how many agencies do you work with just dealing with this project? Do you happen to know?
You want a number or you want the names?
Whichever one.
I can think of 7 off the top of my head.
Okay, so this type of project is there's some complexity to it.
Yeah.
And so getting everything to line up, timing is important. So I'm all set. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the first round? Anyone else in the second round? All right, so now it's time to vote on Resolution 240546.1. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Dr. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Priestley?
Yes.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Ms. Mashat? Yes. Mr. Alamine? Yes. Vote is 5 yes, 0 no.
The vote is 5 yes, 0 no. That resolution passes. Now we're on to Resolution 250087.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Priestley.
I make a motion to approve 250087, reallocation of ARPA funds for Tapology.
All right, any support? Supported by the Councilman in the first ward. Any discussion in the first round?
Madam Chair, is
Go ahead,
Seamus
Ms.
still
Burns.
here?
Is he here? No, nope, he's not here again.
Okay. I know Mr. Bruce had needed some leniency because they couldn't contact him prior.
No, he came.
Let me finish. This is my time. Thank you, ladies. So the first time he was not here, they're going to take it off. He came the last week and he did speak. So y'all like stereo. So I did have some questions in regards, I know because he was not available at first, and we sent it back to committee. I am all set. I can just shoot my questions to Seamus. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else in the first round? Anyone else in the second round? All right, so we are going to call for the vote for Tapology. However, we're going to pause and stand at ease until our colleagues come back from the restroom, since we're only down to 5 members that chose to stay for the meeting. All right. All right. So, Ms. Burns, so we're ready to proceed. Ms. Burns, we're ready to proceed. Ms. Mashat was in the restroom, Mr. Mitchell, and that is your warning. You will stop yelling out. All right, Ms. Burns, we're trying to proceed. We can call Mr. Arnold up if need be. We are at requesting that you please take your seat so we can proceed with the meeting. What you gotta do?
I will be leaving this
all
meeting because you
all
are
right.
nasty and rude.
Okay, so we're on the reallocation of ARPA fund for typology. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Priestley? Ms. Burns is not in. Ms. Mashat?
Yes.
Mr. Alamine? Dr. Lewis?
Yes.
The vote is 4 yes, 0 no.
The vote is 4 yes, 0 no, so that is not sufficient vote for a quorum. Ms. Burns was at her designated seat when we first initiated the roll call, but she decided to leave the meeting for reasons unbeknownst to doing the business of the city. So we will go ahead and
After separating the entire.
after she separated the entire agenda, Ms. Burns broke quorum and left the meeting, so we cannot finish any of the city's business.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Councilwoman in the 7th Ward.
I would like to say that there have been plenty of times where we have all had to be subjected to what we consider tasteless remarks about us, or maybe some rude responses toward us, and we all opted